Good morning, it's Friday, and today I'm going to be doing a little bit of work on the Squiata. The slave cylinder decided to fail on me last week, the last time I was driving it, so I have to replace that. And I'm also, I've been working on the Mega Squirt ECU to control the fuel injection and the spark. As some of you may know, it doesn't get a cam signal, so I've been getting a little bit of help from some forums and doing a lot of reading. So I've managed to figure out, the circuit I needed to trace and the parts that are involved in getting a cam signal. So I have one last recommendation to check before I go ahead and order a $210 part. So we're gonna hook it up and see if we can't get a signal on the laptop. All right, the computer's in here. I got it hooked up. One of the most important things you got to do is lay down a nice thick towel if you've got the ECU out of the case, because if any of the pins on the bottom of this board ground out, you risk frying a circuit. So what was recommended for me to do to check the cam input was to ground out one of the pins on this board, and it's actually the fourth one down. And when I ground it out, when it's powered up, I should see one of these indicator lights. This one actually, it says port T5. I should see that turn from green to white, and that would indicate that the processor on the board there does indeed get the signal. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this little piece of wire I have here, and I'm gonna set one end on the pin, and I'm gonna set the other end to a chassis ground, and I'll let you guys watch the computer screen there, and you can see, let's see, it's gonna be this one right here that we're gonna see, we're gonna want to see turn white. All right, I'm attached to the board, and I'm gonna ground it out right now. So I don't know if you guys could see that, but every time I ground out the pin, that that indicator turns white. So that means that our processor is good, and it's most likely the opto isolator on the circuit board that is our issue. So luckily I did order a couple of those about a week ago. They're only like 10 bucks. So now that we've narrowed down the problem with this computer, we can go ahead and hopefully get it fixed. So let's get started on that. I decided to hold off for a little bit on the circuit board mod, just at least until I get like a confirmation that that is indeed what I should be doing. That is what he said, but you know, I like to make sure. So I decided to jump on the slave cylinder swap. So I brought Squiata in the garage and took off the wheel so we can get access to the slave right there, because when I put in the new Flying Miata clutch, they recommended to swap out the slave cylinder because the increased pressure from the new clutch. So of course I didn't do that, and it's catching up to me already. So it's a pretty quick job though, so we'll get it done. I was having a real hard time getting access to this nut from underneath the car, so luckily the Miata chassis has a super long clutch line, and I'm able to pull it all the way up here to the engine bay, and that's what I went ahead and did. And I'm gonna pop this guy in and get it reinstalled. All right, the new slave cylinder is installed, and I'm hoping that I didn't see any fluid come out of the line when I disconnected it. So, and I'm pretty sure when they ship the slaves, they're filled with fluid already. I'm hoping that just pumping the pedal might get the air bubble to come back up to the reservoir, and I won't even have to bleed it. Let's find out. Well, we've pretty much resorted to pumping the pedal for a few minutes at a time and then cracking the bleeding valve, since we don't have any extra set of hands right now. But it's working. We're getting a little bit of fluid coming out each time, and some air bubbles too. So pedal's getting stiff as well. We're getting... She barfed on my baby. I guess that's probably rainwater that's been collecting inside the tailpipe. This basically what we're doing. The pedal. So she's back on the ground, and we're about to find out if the clutch pedal works. It's got pretty stiff, so I think we're gonna be all right. Jumping back onto the ECU here. This is the part we need to replace right here. It's called an opto isolator, and this is our new one. And I've never worked on a circuit board before, but I've got my soldering iron going, and we're gonna give it a shot. Just melt the solder and pull the legs right out. That side's good. All right, we got our new opto isolator soldered on there. I hope it's good. I left a little bit much solder, so I might try and clean a little bit of that up first. Well, unfortunately, we're still not getting a cam signal, so I guess it wasn't the opto isolator, and we'll just have to keep on researching. Hey everybody, it's Saturday morning, and pretty much everything we did yesterday for the Squiata didn't fix the problems. The clutch still isn't working properly, and the Mega Squirt ECU also is still not receiving a cam signal. So I'm gonna try replacing the opto isolator again with a different style and see if I can't make any headway with that. And I also bought a new master cylinder this morning for the clutch, so I'm gonna get that installed as well. So I had to take the fender off to get to the master cylinder. It's kind of hidden in there pretty tight, but now that we got access to it, swapping it's gonna be. All right, I got the old master out, got the new one in, dropped some fresh brake fluid into it, so now we just got to start pumping. Alright, so the clutch pedal is feeling better than it has in the last day or two. It's real stiff, so I'm pretty confident that the master cylinder was the problem. So we should be good to go on this, and now we just need to do a little research on what opto isolator we're going to have to order, and probably get some better soldering equipment too, because I definitely didn't have the right equipment to be working on a board with that tight of space. So let's see what we can find. Hey everybody, today's Sunday, and I got a response on the Mega Squirt forum from the manufacturer of this ECU after still having failure after swapping out the opto isolator, and he thinks maybe a setting got changed in the system here, and he's saying that his post says, "I'm starting to think that someone has changed the cam input from JS10 to MS3X cam in." And sure as shit, cam input is set as at MS3X cam in instead of JS10. So I I'm like, we're about to find out if this thing gets a cam signal and if we could do full throttle pulls and two-step. All right, we're about to crank it and see what happens. Oh my God, it fired. And that's the first time it's fired on this computer. So that means we have cam input. Okay, well, a couple settings adjustments later, and it looks like the Squiata's ready for a rip. So I'm gonna unhook the power on the laptop and take it for a spin. First time we get to go into boost. All right, well, I had to download the paid version of the tuning software because the fuel was way too rich and it was causing a lot of stumbling issues. But the car is actually starting to drive pretty good, and I've done a few pulls, so I'll show you guys one real quick. It's pretty awesome. So I could tell pretty much immediately that it was pulling way too hard for a low boost level, and sure enough, it looked like it was hitting like upwards of 20, maybe even 30 psi. And the reason why is because our wastegate had 2 springs in it, and we should probably have started off with just 1. So always check your wastegate springs, but it was a hell of a ride. Just looking up the wastegate real quick, it looks like each spring it's supposedly only supposed to hold it shut to 6 psi, so both of them combined should have held it to 12, but that's not what our boost gauge was saying. So we're just going to start off with a single spring, the bigger one. It feels a little softer, and see what kind of boost levels we're going to take it for one more quick spin to see what the spring change did for us. But we can't go too far because we don't have our wastegate dump hooked up to anything yet, so it's basically just going to puke out here and go right into the passenger area. So that would not be good to be breathing in, so we won't go too far. I saw a max of like 17 psi with a 4 psi spring installed, so probably gonna figure out how to hook up the boost control on this thing. So all right, well, after messing with some more settings in the laptop, in particular the barometric pressure sensor, it was set for the wrong one, and I still don't think it's set for the correct one, but it's a lot closer. And we're actually running only at, I think, 5 or 6 psi now, and that's on the lowest pressure spring, so that's pretty close to where we want to be. And I think that means with the original spring setup in there, we were running close to maybe 13 or 14, which is a lot better than I thought it was. And that thing really screamed with that much boost, and that's only 1 bar, so we got to get some bigger fuel injectors.